Hi, this is Dan Aykroyd. I'm here with James Jennings, and he's asking me some questions about my career, and I'm trying to remember for him and for you, the fans of Empire Magazine.
Dan, welcome to Australia.
Thank you. Loving being here. I'm here to say thank you to the country for embracing the head. People got it right away here. They got that it was a fun thing in terms of design, and Australians have discriminating taste. They just like something a little better. They're stepping up to good food and good wine and good beverages everywhere. So we created this to do something a little or a lot better than the norm, and people here have responded. So I'm here to just say thank you.
Yeah, right. Okay. And how did you actually, obviously move from films into the vodka game? Because it's quite a leap.
Well, I've always worked with the best collaborators in recording, in radio, television, film, and we've come up with, #1 projects that were the best of their form and just better than what was out there. So I decided to apply the same thinking, drive, passion, and skill to vodka making. I looked into the vodka world. I opened a lot of vodkas up, tried them, noticed that many of them smell perfumey. They smell like Chanel No. 9. And also they have an over viscosity to them. So I decided to maybe kind of clean the fluid up a little bit. And we went to the Liquor Distillery Corporation, run by the government in Newfoundland, Canada. We chose the aquifer water from the glacial there because all vodka starts with sweet water, or all great vodka does. And we decided to strip out the limonene, the glycol, and the sugar. So we did so, and we're winning medals all around the world. Expo in Moscow, the Russians voted us excellent taste out of 400 beverages, giving us a double gold medal, the World Spirits Competition.
The Russians love it. You're doing
well,
something
yeah,
right.
Exactly. I'm vindicated. I'm proven now.
Yeah. And in terms of the Crystal Head skull, obviously the legend of the Crystal Skulls has been around a while. In terms of bringing it back into public consciousness, who was first, you or Spielberg?
Actually, it was sort of parallel. I was developing the head, and then we were well into our mode of production. We were starting to build our glass and our fluid, and then I found out that he was doing this movie, and I didn't know.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't want him to think that I was ripping him off, so I actually had a meeting with him.
Oh, wow.
I did, because he is the Pope.
Yeah, right.
In the motion picture industry.
Yeah.
And I sat him down. I said, Stephen, I didn't know you were working on this. And he said, had I known you were working on it, I would have had it at the premiere of our movie. But we don't do premieres anymore. We spend the money on advertising. So he would have put it on every table, and he kind of gave it his blessing, and the movie went off and did what it did. But we didn't. I don't think we benefited any from any kind of association there. After all, the heads in his movie are actually cone heads.
Yes, they are cone heads. That's right.
And
so he was ripping you off.
Well, we were trading concepts back and forth, I guess, informally, but. The thing about the heads is that we use the crystal head as a package because it says clarity, it says purity, it says cleanliness, and we're trying to enlighten people to step up to a better drink. And the crystal heads in their time were used by the Navajo, the Mayans, and the Aztec in legend as storage devices for the past experiences of the tribe, and to see the future and to positivize the tribe's existence. So we felt that the legend really served us for a sales story.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, while we're mentioning Spielberg, you had a cameo at the beginning of Temple of Doom. How did that come about?
I called him up and I said, I'm a fan, and you got a little part in the movie for me, and he and Lucas said, sure, come on up. So he went up to Hamilton Air Base up there in San Francisco, and I shot the scene, and I put them on the plane when they
Yeah, right. That must be quite a thrill to be a fan of a franchise and call someone and go,
well,
hey, can I get a
that was nice of them to put me in there. They didn't have to do that, but that was fun.
Yeah. And you previously worked with Spielberg on 1941.
I did.
How was that experience?
That was a great movie, a much under recognized movie. It was a really good portrait of what was going on in California at that time. It was beautifully shot, beautifully done, and I would suggest to people to revisit that and look at it again.
Yeah,
it was a great. Working with him is, he's a master, and
absolutely
just brilliant.
Yeah. So do tell me, Ghostbusters, your most well-known film. What was the original idea or seed for the idea that came from?
Simply this: my great-grandfather was a spiritualist, an Edwardian spiritualist who investigated spiritual events and matters in the town he lived in. He was a dentist, and he was a subscriber to the Journals of the British Society for Psychical Research, and so the family's always been interested in spiritualism. We had our own family trance medium in the 1920s and 30s who channeled spirits in seances that were held every Sunday at the farm for an hour and a half, kind of like a show that my great-grandfather would put on. It was passed on down to his son, who was a Bell telephone engineer, and then to my dad, who was a civil engineer. They were empirical guys. They worked with numbers, grading roads and putting telephone poles up. So it was kind of odd for them to be into spiritualism. And again, Grandpa was a dentist. He studied medicine and that. But that was the family interest. And lying around the house were these journals from the American Society of Psychical Research. So, if you go up to a summer cottage in Canada, you usually see National Geographic or old Life magazines or Reader's Digest. Well, lying around my place were these psychic research journals. And I read an article on quantum physics and parapsychology. And I just went, wow, let's do an old-time ghost comedy, but let's use the actual real research being done by Maimonides Dream Laboratory, by Duke University, by William Roll, and all of the people who were actually researching this material at the time. And let's kind of marry the comedy and the actual science, and that's how it came about.
Yeah, right. And I was reading that the original idea for the film was quite different to what wound up on screen.
Well, the original idea was the same, guys, doing the dirty work of trapping entities, but it was darker, much, much darker than what we ended up with. And the boys, Ivan and Harold and Billy and I, we were right to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Billy, he was just greatest comic leading man ever. Harold, Harold, when I went with him to start working on the script, he of course had all the references, Zacharias Sitchin, and he knew all about paranormal research, and he was just right in there. And we lockstep together. We were able to come up with the first draft.
What's interesting is when you watch the film, obviously your character and Harold's character take it very seriously and are right in there with the research, as you said. And Bill's character is kind of taking the piss and not taking it seriously at all. Was that kind of a mirror of real life? Like you and Harold took it seriously, and Bill was just thought it was all a bit of a laugh?
Well, we engineered it that way, planned that way. I would say in real life, I guess Billy would not be your he's not as sensitive, and I don't know that he would in real life take it seriously unless something happened to him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And what was the atmosphere like on set for filming? Was it a fun shoot? Was it a
Oh, absolutely. It was one of the greatest times ever. It was just beautiful. We were all working on all 8 cylinders. Really everything was tuned and running fine, and it was a beautiful time. Took over New York City. Yeah. It was a peak of life. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a lot of ad-libbing on set as well?
Oh yeah. Well, with Murray, you're going to get that. Yeah. Well, sure. Lots of improv, lots of changing things at the last minute and fixing things and adding things. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory from the shoot?
Yes, I remember I had a high-rise apartment I rented on the 50th floor of a building on 57th Street overlooking Columbus Circle, and I had my dad there and a few friends, and we watched the crowd surge into Columbus Circle, fleeing the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Now obviously he was put in later, but it was incredible to see all this like urban panic from that up that high, of these ants running around Columbus Circle and heading up Central Park. We like 2,000 extras, so that was really, really vivid, and just brought home how fortunate I was to have been in that industry.
Yeah.
For however long I was.
And did you keep any props from the film once the movie was done?
I had a jumpsuit for a while, and that's it. I have no memorabilia at all, nothing. I don't even have a poster of anything.
Oh, really?
No, I'm about the future, not the past. I don't reminisce. I don't really watch the movies. I mean, I've had to see the ones I've written. I have to see the ones I've written, and I see them once, but I don't watch.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I'm about the future.
Right.
I'm not a nostalgic type.
Sure. Talking about Ghostbusters 2, Bill Murray has sort of said that it was a very different film, what wound up on screen than what was discussed beforehand. Is that true?
Well, he was disappointed with it. I think it was an excellent companion to the first movie. I guess there were things in there he thought were going to be in there and weren't. I don't know. I'm not going to break down and analyze that. To me, it was very successful. It was the movie we wanted to make. We all made a committee decision to take it the way it went.
Yep.
There's great stuff in there. The babies out on the balcony, you know, that scary scene. Vigo, Peter McNichol's performance. You know, the scene where I'm possessed. Funny stuff. Just the dancing toaster, the river of slime, the Van Horn station, that incredible set. You know, depicting New York in its kind of industrial heyday. There were really great elements in the picture, and I don't think it deserves the slagging that Billy gave it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Talking about bad guys as well, I must also mention William Atherton, who played Walter Peck in the first one. He's one of the all-time great movie jerks. Like, absolutely amazing. Like, and I actually read that he used to get into fights with the public because people would see him and just talk to him as though he was Walter Peck. Yeah. And he used to get into scraps with people.
Well, he's a great actor. He's one of the great American actors, and he just, you know, again, that movie would not have been what it was if it weren't for Sigourney, Bill, Annie, Alberton, and Bill Murray, and Annie Potts, and those great performances. Rick Moranis was wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, moving on to Ghostbusters 3, which I'm sure you're probably sick of talking about now, but what's the status with that? Where are we at with Ghostbusters 3? Is it actually going to happen?
Oh yeah, it'll happen, yeah. We're just perfecting the script, and you know, we're going to hand it to a new generation. Think what they did with Star Trek, that's the way it's going to be. Right. So it's not going to be like the first two movies. You won't see the same people.
Right.
Just prepare yourself for all new cast,
right,
all new situation, new physics, new situation completely.
Okay. And in terms of the original cast, can we expect to see some or all of you guys back for a part?
Some.
Some? Does that mean everyone but Bill Murray?
I can only say some, and Billy is always welcome.
Yeah.
Always welcome. We would love to have him walk through the door, and I'd love to have everybody from the first movie in it. We'll see what happens.
See what happens. Yeah. So currently Bill doesn't want to be involved in it, does he?
He said not, and I understand he's done the role twice. He's moving on to other things. He owns FDR now. He could do that on stage. He's working with young directors who are in the forefront of cinema. He's a terrific dramatic actor, and I can see why he would not want to reprise the role. And look, you know, I'm his friend first before I'm a colleague. Yeah. And whatever he decides to do is fine with me. We have a friendship that will survive everything. I love the guy, and you know, if he wants to join us at the last minute, we'll make a hole for him. Okay. But right now, he's moving on. That's fine. Yeah. Is it true that
one of the first Ghostbusters 3 scripts that isn't going to be used now, he was actually going to play a ghost? Because I believe that Sigourney Weaver maybe let that slip that he was going to be returning as a ghost.
Oh, I wrote a part for him. It was, I mean, it was one of the greatest parts ever written for an actor. Yeah. And he didn't want to do it. So.
Okay,
but it was great, just great, and I mean, it was funny and poignant, and he would have only had to work a half day. Yeah. But it had a lot of impact. I'm sorry we didn't get him for that. Yeah. That is a disappointment.
That is a shame. Yeah, absolutely. Well, talking about who's working on it now, who's currently doing the script? Who's working on the script?
Well, me, Ivan, and Harold will be working from a draft that's been generated by Eitan Cohen, who did Men in Black 3 and who's directing the next Will Ferrell movie. Okay. Yeah, and also we had Stupnitsky and Eisenberg from The Office, and we'll be drawing on some of their material. So it'll be an amalgam of their work, Eitan's work, and then me hauling it back to where it has to, and setting it structurally and in tone to where it has to be with Harold and Ivan. Right. Yeah. Okay. And are you hoping to get that before cameras? Next year potentially? I don't know. Don't know. Well, yeah, movie business. Who knows? Yeah. Look. If I were running the studio, I'd be in production tomorrow. Yeah. But I'm just a hire for gun artist. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And look, it's interesting to note as well is that Ghostbusters and Blues Brothers, which are probably two of the films you're most well known for, they're sort of directly based on passions of yours, you know, blues and soul music and the paranormal. So talking about the Blues Brothers, drawing upon that passion of yours, now if you cast your mind back, you're looking at a film where you got to reunite some absolutely legendary musicians. Yeah. And you're with your best friend, and you get to trash a bunch of cars. That must have been an amazing time. Well, from a multitasking point of view, it is my favorite piece of work because we got to sing, dance, act, write, produce, play an instrument, crash cars, and work with Ray, Aretha, and James Brown, who ended up becoming a great friend of mine.
Oh, Aretha.
James did.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, he was a great friend of mine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was. Good. I know James had a bit of a rough period there for a while, but like, was he okay when the cameras were rolling and it was time to?
Oh yeah, he was great, and I saw him before and after his rough period,
Yep.
and and towards the end of his life too. He didn't have to die; he died of pneumonia in a hospital. Now that's
Yeah.
unnecessary. He'd still be playing today. He had tremendous energy, and what a band! I miss him a lot.
Yeah. I mean, growing up listening to all that music, it must have been quite an amazing thrill for you to be around these people. You know, Ray Charles, Aretha, like you said, James.
Oh.
Was it intimidating for you to be around them?
Well, of course, recording with Ray Charles, we had to have it right, and then performing with James, we had to have it right, and Aretha, we couldn't waste her time, so it was I would say, it kind of it brought us to our alert status in terms of performers. We were at the top of what we could do. We were not apathetic on that set at any time.
Right. Talking of alert levels, I actually read something online, which you might be able to verify or not, is that part of the production budget for Blues Brothers, there was a portion set aside for cocaine for night shoots.
That's true.
Okay.
That's right. At that time, it was a very popular powder. Not for me so much, unfortunately for my deceased partner, as it turned out in the end. But that was it was just kind of a license that we took at the time, and it was and it probably helped us get through 3, 4, and 5 in the morning shoots, and that is absolutely true.
Okay.
But again, I myself, I do have to say that it was never my favorite. I never liked that substance at all. I didn't see its worth. But Peruvian marching powder is what they call it.
That's it.
And it beats a coffee, I guess, if coffee's not working. But those days are long over, and anybody who was involved in the production now has left all that stuff behind. I hope.
Yeah. Well, Carrie Fisher, who appears in the film, you were dating her at the time, so I have to ask.
Princess Leia.
You were dating Princess Leia,
Yeah, and
you
she
were a
looked like
blues.
Princess Leia.
She looked like Princess Leia.
Yeah.
And you were a blues brother. You must have felt like the coolest man alive in 1980.
We had a lot of fun. Carrie, of course, is a brilliant woman. She's so funny, so smart, so literate. I learned so much from her, and we got blood tests and rings, and we were going to get married.
Yeah.
And then something happened, and she went back to the guy she'd been with before, but we remain friends today, and she's one of my favorite people.
Excellent. And in terms of like returning to old characters, it looks like she's set to, put the old buns back on for a new Star Wars film.
She will be great in whatever she does. She is so committed as an actress and a writer, and also one of my favorite people is her mom, Debbie Reynolds, who could have been my mother-in-law.
Yeah, right.
And that family embraced me. They just took me in. I didn't know too many people in Hollywood then, and I got to hang out with her and her brother and Debbie, and just they embraced me into the community, and I felt warmly welcomed by that family, and I feel very affectionately for them today.
Yeah, great. And it must have been a lot of fun, obviously, doing the film with John as well. I read that he used to disappear a lot, like he'd sort of, he was very hard to get on set.
Oh yeah, he'd walk off, and I remember one night he walked off in the middle of the night, and we couldn't find him, and no one could find him anywhere. We were shooting the Harvey Mall scene there, and so I don't know where he is. It was before cell phones, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw this path leading through the abandoned parking lot, and then the lights in the street were kind of broken, but there was one light on, and I kind of went and I saw a row of houses, and there was a light on in the living room. I said, well, I'm just going to see if, and I knocked on the door. I said, we're shooting a movie over here at the mall. We're looking for one of our actors. And the man said, oh yeah, Belushi's on my couch. He's asleep. He came in and raided my fridge about a half hour ago. He was America's guest. He could walk in anywhere and be welcome.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and everyone probably wanted to party with John Belushi and have
well, that's it. That's what killed him.
Yeah.
They thought by giving him, the blow that they were giving him a favor, and that's what his vulnerability was. They thought that they were, no one wanted to kill him. That woman didn't want to kill him any more than I did.
Yeah.
And she just was, making him feel good because she loved him.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, yeah. And for such a long time, you guys were synonymous. So, obviously once he passed, was it very difficult to sort of adapt to being on your own and not have him
everything ended basically then. It ended. I was 29, he was 33, and we were planning more records, more movies, and then it was all gone. So, but I just, I sort of like seeing a friend die in battle next to you. You've got to keep moving.
Yeah.
And so I went up to Canada, and I kind of, I went back home, saw my folks, and then, and then finished Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Finished the script.
Yeah, right.
And moved on to that.
Okay, so there were a number of projects I knew that you had John, earmarked for roles for Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I was writing a line for him when I heard he died.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. And Spies Like Us as well, which you wound up doing with Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Now, you've sort of got quite the relationship with him as well. You've appeared in a few things with Chevy, and he was in your directorial debut, Nothing But Trouble. So you guys have a good working relationship?
Well, I wish we were working more often.
Yeah.
Sure, I love Chevy. He's tough to handle because he's a bit what can I say, set in his ways,
right?
And at his age, but if you're patient and you know how to do it, one can get a great performance out of him.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the funniest and most gifted physical comedians alive.
Yeah. I was going to say, because he's got, over the years, he's kind of developed a reputation for being a little bit difficult to work with, but considering you've collaborated with him on a number of things over the years, you obviously know...
Well, he has to be handled correctly, and also he's got to be given a lot to do. The problem with that series was they were holding him back. They should have just handed the whole thing to him. And let him be the lead, and it would have been much funnier and much better.
Yeah. Now, you've only directed one film, which was Nothing But Trouble.
That'll be the end of it. That ended the career.
That was it?
That was, because the movie was not commercially successful, and I didn't get a second chance.
Right.
However, now, people are coming up to me, especially young people, all the time, and saying they've seen it, and they love it.
Yeah.
And it is a very serviceable comedy.
Yeah.
You hear filmmakers say, "Oh, it was improperly marketed" and all that. It wasn't that. We just came out in the marketplace next to two women. The weekend that Nothing But Trouble opened, you had Jodie Foster in the marketplace with Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
And then you had Julia Roberts with a film called something where she ran away from her husband or something. And so you had two really strong women in the marketplace. And then the war started. Desert Shield started.
Right.
So here we were with this weird, dark, strange comedy, and we just got buried, and that was it.
Yeah.
The end of my directing career. And that's that.
Oh, that's a shame, because I watched it again last week, and
there's some funny stuff.
It's actually it's not a bad film. It's actually quite funny and lighthearted and enjoyable.
Serviceable comedy.
It is weird. It's very weird.
Oh yeah,
but
weird. Yeah.
But Ghostbusters is weird, so
Yeah, well, no, that wasn't my destiny. I ended up doing something else.
Right.
And I'm happy with the way things are going now. I'm enjoying this. This is really fun.
Yeah. I must ask about that film though. It has Digital Underground, a hip hop group in there, with a young Tupac Shakur.
As the DJ, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
How on earth did you get Tupac and his hip hop group in your film?
Shock G, he worked for Shock G, and Shock G was commissioned to do the song and to do some of the soundtrack, and the Humpty Hump was his hit, and Tupac was one of his crew, and so Tupac was just sort of starting his career then. Yeah.
It was a few years before he kind of hit big, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he apprenticed with Shock G. Great guys. It was fun. I had fun directing. I liked it, and I know how to do it. I got my PhD in directing from that movie. I know how to direct and edit and manage a set now and control 350 people on a budget of 30 million. I could do it. We brought it in under budget, actually.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was a alternate reality down that path, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be given the chance to do that again, but that's okay. I'm very grateful for my time in the motion picture industry. I love my collaborations. I love being part of that community. I have nothing bad to say about it, and I have no bitterness there at all.
Oh, very good. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Tell me about working with Eddie Murphy as well, because at the time, Trading Places in 1983, he was huge. So what was it like working with Eddie at that time?
Oh wow, you had one of the great gifted young comedians, at the peak of his powers. It was wonderful. It was just great. And again, I wish I'd had the opportunity to work with him again. It just never worked out. Never happened.
And he started on Saturday Night Live the year after you left.
Yes.
Yeah.
He did great work there. Yeah. He's a giant talent, and miss seeing him on screen, and I look, if the right project came along, I would do it in a second.
Yeah. And there's also a number of films sort of in the 90s where you started taking more straighter roles, like you were in Driving Miss Daisy, where you're
Bruce Beresford, an Australian director.
Australian director, right? My Girl as well. Was it sort of a conscious decision to sort of like start trying out more serious roles and move away from the comedic stuff, or just?
Well, I was, you know, I mean, I chased Driving Miss Daisy. I read somewhere they were doing a movie. I called my agent. I went for an audition, so I you know, and got the part. And My Girl as well. My wife's manager actually turned me on to that and said that they were considering, you know, actors for this part of this funeral director. And I went in and consciously went in and met with the director and auditioned and got the part. And, yeah.
And tell me, what is your most favorite film out of your filmography?
Well, I would say for multitasking, as I said, Blues Brothers. For the just because we had to do everything, you know, all kinds of skills were demanded there. But my favorite character, and one that I would love to do again, is the Conehead. I really feel like that guy. I feel very alien.
Yeah, right.
And I love the Conehead, and I would do that in a second.
Right.
Yeah, that's my favorite part that I've ever played.
Right. It's a shame Spielberg didn't get you in for a cameo for Crystal Skull. You could have been there,
you know,
with your Conehead
he was.
sitting
When I found it, I didn't find out he was releasing the movie until it was over. So I didn't have a chance there.
Yeah. And just in terms of like what's coming up, I see you've got a movie called Tammy with Melissa McCarthy. Is that?
Well, I play her dad in the movie. Yeah. So she asked me to play her dad, and I think she's one of the most gifted writer comedians I've ever seen. She's next to Chevy and Buster Keaton. She's probably one of the most gifted physical comedians I've ever seen. She's a brilliant person. She directed the movie with her husband Ben Falcone, and you know, I like to work with the young people, you know, and I will go out the door for a young filmmaker now and again if it's the right project.
Right.
But it's not something I'm chasing anymore. Believe me, I'm busy with this. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be out I guess next summer.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of you playing people's dads as well, you also played Britney Spears' dad in the movie.
I did. She asked me to do that, and you know, I had great respect for her as an artist, and that was a nice little project. Yeah. And of course, I could tell my kids I was working with Britney Spears, so
Yeah.
that got me some points at home.
Yeah. Was she familiar with your other films?
Not really.
No.
No, her mom really was the one who cast me in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Her mum was familiar with your films.
Yeah, and I threw a birthday party for her mom at the House of Blues.
Oh wow.
In LA, yeah, we had a big party for her mom there.
Wonderful.
During the shooting of the movie, and yeah, she was responsible for getting me that part.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, Dan, thank you for taking your time today to
Sure.
chat to us about your films, and
thank
enjoy the rest of your trip in Australia.
Thanks a lot. Enjoy the vodka. It's here.
Excellent.
Every liquor store's got it.
We will.
Thank you.